Cricket et al. It's a website, it's a podcast.
Pete, it's a way of life. It's Gideon Haig over here.
Peter Lawler over here.
And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast. It's victory in the Worrell Trophy, which Australia retain after till the next time we meet. Who knows when that may be? But it's been 30 years now that Australia has held what used to be the World Test Championship de facto, but these days it's more sort of a historical curio. Peter Lawler, you're in Grenada. How did you see the last day?
Comprehensive victory, Gideon. 133 runs, probably doesn't quite tell the distance between the two teams. Yeah. In the end, Australia were just too strong, and as we expected yesterday, that partnership between Green and Stephen Smith made the difference here. The Aussies rocked up with 3 wickets in hand, probably hoping to stretch their lead a little more than they did, but the West Indies ran through them easily. Which kind of indicated that it was going to be pretty difficult for the West Indies batters to chase down. What were they posted? Getting 243, were they?
Yeah. I mean, they're not.
Yeah, something in that vicinity. Always.
That's par for them.
Like the series. Yeah, it looked like it was going to be too many runs, and it was too many runs. Josh Hazlewood struck in his first over, I think, and the Australians sort of had them 4 down in no time at all. It was just a matter of time. There really wasn't a lot of resistance.
It's new ball conditions, isn't it? And you know that it all depended on how West Indies went in that session before lunch, and they lost 4, and that was all over really. Of course, the highlight, and I've watched it many times. I dare say you have too. Is that Pat Cummins delivery to Brandon King? It's just just a thing of beauty, isn't it? And a joy forever.
Absolutely glorious. Well, you're in a position to watch it a number of times. We get at most 2 replays on the big video screens over there, but it was a spine-tinglingly good dismissal, and I'm glad you highlighted it, because I've highlighted it in my copy, reminiscent of a couple of dismissals of Joe Root. By the captain. It's a Cummins special, that one. Yeah. It shapes in towards the batter who puts his bat where the ball should be, only to see it whistle past that outside edge. They get squared up and off goes the top of the off stump. It was a bloody ripper, a classic delivery. But look, they all bowled really well today, and they generally do, don't they? They're such a good outfit.
The thing about that Cummins delivery is he makes you think it's coming back in by coming wide of the crease, doesn't he? You're going, okay, I've lined him up. I've lined him up perfectly here. And did you see the you won't have seen it because you haven't seen the replay, but Roston Chase at the non-striker's end, he just throws his head back in dismay, astonishment, irritation. You know, I think everyone would have to agree that that was way too good for even a better player than Brandon King. But actually, Brandon King's shaped all right in this game, hasn't he? If anything's positives coming out of this series, it's that Brandon King actually looks like a guy who knows his game. He's only averaging 25 for the series, but he's looked the part.
Yeah, look, before we move off Cummins, I don't reckon I gave that dismissal of Shy Hope enough credit in the first innings either. And you're right, it's the way he works the crease too, you know. But to get wide on the crease like that and then to straighten the ball up takes, it's not an easy thing to do. If every bowler in the world could do that, batsmen's lives would be a lot more difficult. But Cummins does it regularly enough to be to make life miserable for those poor buggers putting their bat where they think the ball's going to come. Yeah, you talked about Brandon King. Darren Sammy came into the press conference there after the game and just talked about how tough it is to find batters of quality in the Caribbean. He says, we have so many batters just averaging in their 30s. We're lucky to get someone averaging their 40s. We've sent out an SOS to the curators to try and make pitches where batters can actually get a little bit more time in the middle and get used to batting, but everything's a bit spicy. I think in the last 2 World Test Championship cycles, the West Indies have played fewer deliveries than any other side and made fewer runs. I know at least the last one, I think the one before that too. So batting is their real issue, and they were just outclassed by that Australian attack. But I don't think any cricket team's going to hang on that long in conditions like the West Indies were confronted with today. That new ball, I mean, some of the balls were really getting up, and that was highlighted, in fact, by the fact that Stark had been smacked in the helmet a little earlier. So
just on the issue of West Indies batters, Pete, is it? I mean, they've got batters. They've got Pooran, they've got Hetmeyer, they've got Rodman Powell, but they play T20.
Yeah.
Is it the fact that T20 is sort of fishing in the same batting talent pool and leaving Test cricket the poorer?
Well, that's the case. The West Indies suffer from that more than perhaps any country in the world. I'd suggest. How many times have we seen the West Indies Test side playing when one of their better batters has been, their better batsmen are somewhere else? I mean, it's unfortunate. It's understandable too. There's nothing that they can do about it. This is what poverty brings to West Indies cricket, or lack of resources. They can't stop their cricketers. I mean, they can't stop their cricketers going out and trying to make a little bit of money for themselves somewhere in the world. And this is a problem that the West Indies can't address, but perhaps cricket could address. And I'm sure when you sat around, at your conference with everybody the other day, indeed. I don't know if this was discussed, but there has to be a way for cricket to help sides like the West Indies get their players playing the premium brand of the game. I mean, Australia doesn't help, does it? It's got West Indies players playing BBL while they're Test teams in the country.
Yeah. You would have to completely change the economics of cricket touring to remedy the fact that the West Indies is paying for this tour. What did you say? They're paying $6 million to host Australia.
Sorry, I've been meaning to reverse ferret that. I've been doing some digging on. That came from somebody who's very well connected in West Indies cricket, but West Indies cricket are denying that. They're not saying how much they'll lose or how much they'll make, but they absolutely deny the $6 million figure.
All right.
But as we said before, this tour they can't get much money beyond ticket sales from tourists. Even if there's 2,000 of them, that's not many ticket sales, and the broadcast rights just aren't worth a lot of money because they're going back to Australia in the middle of the night. Channel 7 looked at buying this tour, and I assume that they decided it probably wasn't worthwhile. You couldn't get sponsors to cover the costs of broadcasting to Gideon Haig and his 5 mates who are going to sit up all night and watch it.
His 5 mates who are over in the West Indies.
Yeah, that's right, Are your Yarrows boys still here?
It's actually, there are quite a few of them, actually. They're having a great time.
I bumped into somebody from the Yarrows in Barbados on the first night. There's a lot of Australian cricket fans here, and I've got to say, there weren't many around this morning.
I see.
It was a pretty big night in St George's. I went and sat down on the tents on the roadside and watched the traffic going by, and people were getting among it, kids, getting among it. It was all a bit Chris Christopherson Sunday morning, giving away the theme of my copy today. But very pleased to see Alex Carey get the man of the match. He possibly player of the match is a politically correct term. Probably could have been given it in the first test, but here, he's had a 60-odd and a 30-odd. He's kept really well. Pat Cummins was full of praise for him in the press conference later, said, he's only 4 or 5 years into his test career. We sometimes think that he's been around a bit longer than that, Carey, I reckon. And this last 12 months has been his most prolific. Coming into this test match, I think in the past 12 months, he's averaged 45. Probably bump that up a little bit with today. Will he? No, actually, he'll keep that level after this test. 60 and 30, that's 45, isn't it? He says, one of the things as an opposition that you really worry about is when they've got a number 7 that comes in and who can take the game on. Who can really push the game forward. He says, that's a really dangerous player. And I suspect it's a really dangerous play because it often gets you when you're starting to flag a little bit, when you've probably done the hard work of getting rid of the top 5, top 6, and then you've got this bloke here who just takes advantage of the situation, who feasts on you a little bit. Carey does that, not the same cavalier way that perhaps an Adam Gilchrist did it, but he does it so well for Australia. He may prove to be one of the better keeper batsmen that we've ever had, I think, up there alongside Adam Gilchrist.
Well, he's already got the distinction, doesn't he, of having become the Australian songmaster. I think he's the 3rd keeper to hold that role. So there's a solid estimation of his abilities in the Australian camp and an understanding that he is kind of, to use a hackneyed phrase, a sort of an embodiment of Australian values, or at least of team values. There's an idea that he's actually worth more than the sum of his skills. So I think it wouldn't be true to say that he's not being recognised. He's certainly being recognised by his peers.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's also a very attractive player to watch, isn't he? He doesn't grind it out.
Yeah, love watching him.
He's a beautiful driver, lovely player off the pads. When he's not playing his reverse sweep, as his wife has warned him against, he's a very good player of spin. He's very tidy, isn't he? Very seldom makes a mistake behind some. He dropped one during the World Test Championship final, didn't he? And that was unusual because it was a rarity. You don't see him making too many mistakes.
Did he drop one in the first Test too? And then he took a screamer off that inside edge, didn't he?
It was an absolute screamer, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, he's an absolute ripper, Alex, and I think I bang on about him a little bit too much these days. But that 5, 6 and 7 have been so reliable for Australia. And Bo Webster, while it didn't come off today, he's been a great addition. I did note something.
He's picked up Brathwaite again. That's nice
so
delivery to get rid of him. Yeah, so he's always chipping in. He's always making a contribution.
Yeah. Pardon me, I just got to adjust my position here. Gideon crouched up in the bloody stands. We'll do a bit of advertising for the local sponsor. I was going to say, what I did note during the player of the match presentation was that Cameron Green was out there rolling the arm over. It's not the first time I've seen him rolling the arm over. I guess we would expect him to be doing that, building up toward the Australian summer.
I read a report saying that he's been working with Adam Griffith, building his loads every day.
Yeah,
which has an interesting implication. So clearly they are now expecting him to bowl in the Australian summer and make a more than just a token contribution. How does that reconcile with him batting number 3? How many seam bowling all-rounders have we had batting at number 3? I still can't quite work out where he fits in the Australian plans. Well, maybe he and Webster end up duelling for the same position. I don't know.
Well, if they think he's good enough to bat at number 3, they'll probably just reduce his bowling load, and he won't. If Webster's in the side, he's not really going to have to send down a lot of overs anyway. Webster's a pretty effective bowler. On Australian wickets, they tend to use Cameron Green as that back of a length sort of bouncer bowler, don't they? Which might explain why he's broken. I thought, he as we said yesterday, he's better off for this Test match. He found a way out there, but he did find a way, and that'll do great thing. Hopefully that will do great things for his confidence and see where he's about.
I quite liked his press conference last night, where he sort of said that he didn't actually know what anyone was writing because he didn't read anything. He's becoming more a Stark than a Smith, in that he tries to keep the rancorous world at arm's length. Yes, he will be a lot better off for this Test. Could easily have failed if that first ball had carried slip, and we'd be writing something else. But that's the rub of the green that sometimes you need when you're in a bit of a trough. There's no doubt he'll improve for the experience of batting at number 3. He's not going to learn how to be a number 3 batting anywhere else. But I still think, I don't know, he just doesn't look like a natural to me. And I'm not even sure that this series is going to tell us all that much. They're poor pitches. They're sort of middle-ranked opposition. It's a far cry from what he'll face this summer.
He's too bloody tall to be a number 3 for the start. He's ridiculously tall. Cummins was funny in the press conference. He got asked about the court and bowled. And the fantastic court and bowled, because he walked in with a massive Graves on the elbow.
Yep.
You know, and of course he's ended up at bat pad, short leg, to take that catch. And he said, I was going to put Trav in to short leg, but I thought, my first ball's always a bit of a warm-up ball. I'll bring him in second delivery. He says, but I forgot. And he said, I saw the ball go up in the air, and I thought, bugger,
geez, I better do it myself.
Oh, we're going to... So he was cursing himself as he ran for it. That's right, I don't have a short leg. This is the travails of being a bowling captain. You've got so much going on. It's a bit hard to adjust. But you think you'd be up to adjusting field for your own bowling. But anyway...
I don't reckon you see short leg anywhere near enough these days. I think captains are a bit slow with short legs, and they don't feel quite close enough anymore for my liking. But
there's always one idiot with a horn left in the ground. God, it wasn't noisy enough. They handed out those plastic horns on day 2.
Oh yes, well I heard it last night on the pod, Pete.
There's another one now.
Yeah.
Apparently, Joel Srinath went and spoke to the ground's DJ and asked him to keep the noise down. According to reporting Dan Sherney's got. Well, I don't know if that was keeping the noise down. Bloody hell!
I know. An Indian referee wants us to turn the noise down.
There were so few people in the ground this morning. He tried to get the Aussie, Aussie, Aussie chant up, and you heard this. No, just dead silence. Every Australian's head hurt too much to actually join in the chant. Well, so now the Australians, Pat apologised that he didn't give us the whole weekend off, but at least we get Sunday off. Okay. We get an early mark on Saturday. We move to Jamaica for the pink ball test.
Yeah.
We spoke to Darren Sammy about that. He said, well, I'm told it's a pink ball test, but you might know more about it than me. I guess we'll get to Jamaica and find out. Cummins was asked if he'd done any practice with the pink balls, and he said, well, we've been trying to get our hands on some, but we can't find any. Hopefully there'll be some in Jamaica. So we'll wait and see if that happens. And if apparently the Jamaican Prime Minister is very keen. I mean, he's the guy who started the upgrade of the ground, and I've seen him in pictures throwing the switch on the lights when they were first installed.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister here was on the ground today, but it wasn't quite the Modi thing. He came out and tried to hit the 6 sixes in 6 seconds. Crowd stunt for the DJ.
Oh, that's good. How did he go?
Not too bad.
Right, okay.
You know what? I did have something to say, and I know just peddling back a little bit on Cameron Green. I'll just do it before we leave. This thing about him batting number 3 and bowling seam reminds you a little bit of Shane Watson, doesn't it? Who slipped up and down the order as the all-rounder, at times opening, at times... Did he ever go in at 3? He probably did. I think he batted.
Sure, he got 170 at 3 at the Oval in 2013.
Oh, that's right. Of course he did.
I think I remember writing something like Shane Watson was always the answer to Australian cricket's last problem. And in some ways, that's how Greens ended up at 3, because we had a vacancy at number 3 when he became available again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they bust a gut to get him in the team, didn't they? Like last time he became available, they moved Smith up to 1. Smith wasn't for the moving this time. I'd be more comfortable if Smith was at 3.
Yes.
I've written in a piece today that I don't think Smith can get credit enough for that. What did he make? 71, 72?
71. Jeez, he batted well, didn't he?
Those ones don't look great. You know, it's only a half credit in their scorebooks, but that was a fantastic innings. And, it's probably, I wouldn't mind going watching a replay of the way he went about that. That was a batting masterclass in really difficult conditions. Compare and contrast with England-India, Gideon.
Indeed.
10 million runs scored in one test match.
Yeah. That's just outrageous, isn't it? And a 5-dayer, back-to-back 5-dayers. I was communicating with Ali Martin last night too. He said he was he was saying that he was taking an optimistic slant on the basis of its contribution to the local economy, because he is from Birmingham.
I think I saw a stat from Ben Jones that is the 3rd flattest wicket in English cricket history.
God, okay.
Or
well,
maybe
my guess is that they're rolling them out because they think they're going to get flat wickets in Australia. That they want to work out a way to bowl effectively on flat pitches because, of course, England's success against India at home has been based on juicing up the decks, green seamers historically. So they're rolling out something completely different this season, and they're certainly getting a feeling for what they could face in Australia if Australian batting does get going. Some very, very long stints in the field.
It does suit their own game, though, doesn't it? When you swing from the rafters to everything, you want a flat wicket. I mean, that's a stage for baseball, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who knows what you're going to get in Australia? But if the last few years are any indication, they're not going to be flat decks.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, it's been a knock 'em down, duke 'em out contest at Birmingham, and 1-1 going into Lords with Bumrah coming back. So maybe they boxed clever, Pete, by leaving him out.
Maybe they did. And just as we were talking about it, I thought, damn, I think I called it Edgbaston in my copy. But anyway, people will know what I meant. Hey, have you got anything more to say? Because I'm a bit nervous about this podcast because we don't have a producer. And I've got to push a button, and God knows whether any of this has been recorded.
No, it seems to be working at my end, and I've got new internet here. I've got a new modem looking out the window, and it seems to be working fine.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, let's give it a go. Let's do it ourselves.
This is DIY potting.
This is DIY.
You mean Gaz
going commando, as you said the other day. Yeah, all right, okay. That's all we've got time for on Cricket et al. We're just going to brazen this out. Great to have you with us. Pete, when do you move on to Jamaica?
Not tomorrow and not the day after that, but the day after that, I think. So I have an extra day here, I'm pleased to say, because I couldn't get a flight off the island. Yeah. Yep. So I think, what is it today? Sunday. So it's not Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think I might be going Wednesday. Looking forward to there. Dino's coming down from LA. We're going to catch up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, my other friend. Yeah. I've got other friends.
Will Gaz be along?
Oh, who knows where he'll show up. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, okay. It's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him. And let's hope that this is the right button to push at the end of the podcast. Yeah. Here I go.